here on site is absolutely disgusting. In fact, I think I'm going to need to take a shower just being this close to the water. There's a little bit of a mist. The smell is absolutely putrid. I thought about putting a clothespin on my nose because it's just so bad. And we have people training in this right now.
It has definitely gotten worse. They've been covering this story for decades here in San Diego. And I have this theory, sort of like our homeless issue that we have in San Diego, that we count on tourism here. So we don't really want it to escape San Diego. We like to have an invisibility cloak and cover all of our problems because we rely so heavily on tourism. I mean, you got to think there are thousands and thousands of people using our beaches. We're talking about this water problem goes from the border all the way to Encinitas, almost 20 miles of completely ruined beach. And we have thousands of tourists coming and hanging out in this poop water. We have to do something about it. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And they basically said, Mexico said, we don't have a water problem. You have a water problem. So I'm glad to see that Trump is sending someone here from the EPA so we can start shoring up this position because it really is chemical warfare that they are waging on us.
This is a huge national crisis when you have your like half the SEAL teams are located in San Diego, the other half are in Virginia Beach. So when you got half the SEAL teams who are getting exposed to this, then it's a major issue. I got to Friday before Hell Week and I started becoming extremely nauseous. And I could tell I was dehydrated because I was so thirsty. And I would drink water and throw up, drink water and throw up. And I couldn't stop. And so you never really want to go to medical because they can pull you out or make you get rolled to the next class. But I couldn't even drink water without throwing up. It's the only time in my whole life that this has happened. They gave me IVs. I was so dehydrated, it kept missing my IV. And then finally, they get it on the third time. They start giving me IVs. Finally, the next day, I start being able to drink a little bit of water again, but I still can't really eat food. And then finally, Sunday, I start being able to keep food down as well. And now it's Hell Week. Now we're starting Hell Week. And I've gone through 6 weeks of training. I'm not just going to say, you know what, I'm a little sick, I'm not going to go into Hell Week. I went through and I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to crush this. But from being super dehydrated from VGE, viral gastroenteritis, I ended up developing rhabdomyolysis where my muscles exerted so much and I was so dehydrated. And also through being in a winter Hell Week where I'm getting hypothermia at the same time, and we'd have 25 people quit it at a time. Steel Pier, out at the buoy swim, people getting surf tortured, people are quitting nonstop. And so had a little bit of hypothermia and it led me where my muscles broke down so much that my blood became toxic with muscle waste.
It ruins their GI tract almost before they even exit, sealed training. So then they work for years with all of these problems. Imagine being deployed with near constant diarrhea. That's got to be a lot of fun. This is going to be, in my opinion, the next Camp Lejeune water problem that cost our government 21 to 25 billion. That's just in the compensation directly, like the lawsuit portion of it. That doesn't cover all the compensation you have to pay these veterans tax free for the rest of their lives. I mean, I would say that this issue here in San Diego, if you look at it over the time that people have been training here, you're looking at another 21 to 25 billion plus all of the compensation that's going to come. It would be cheaper for our country to fix this than it would to allow it to continue. They're out there for hours. They're out there for days. They train in the actual surf almost every single day for months, and they do these exercises. So when they're deployed, there's this whole thing where if they all go underwater and they're running up on an enemy and one of them were to say lose their ability to breathe, they're not supposed to come up. They're supposed to basically drown. And so they have them over and over learn how to get their body to the point where they can actually drown. They are doing that for hours and days at a time in this stagnant swamp water that is filled with, as I said, human feces, drugs, all different kinds of diseases.
When I went through training, it was absolutely a thing that they'd shut down the Imperial Beach because the ocean water was so bad because the waste coming from Tijuana had infected the water. You could always smell it. And oftentimes, even in the bay, we need to wash our wetsuit after being out on a swim. Now, some of the training causes us to be deeply immersed in the water, and infections and all types of things can come up from being in the water. But I'll say that it has gotten significantly worse as the population has doubled in Tijuana. So just to give you an idea of Hell Week, going through Hell Week, you're going to be in the water almost 24 hours a day for an entire week. And we get down to a place called the Mud Flats where we're immersed in mud, where the water has been soaking into the mud for a period of time. We're in and out of the beach water that's close to where the waste is dumped. And there's just no way around it. If you have any cut or wound on your body, it's possible that could turn into a very dangerous infection.
This administration is taking very seriously things that have to do with active duty military service personnel, our veterans, our national security, our sovereignty. I would be very surprised if during this administration that we don't figure out how to fix this. I don't think that the rest of the country who has never been to San Diego understands how big San Diego is. San Diego County is as big as some states. It's giant. Millions of people live here and are breathing the air of this water. It goes well beyond the military. I mean, it's a crisis.
I do believe that Trump and his administration, Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Zeldin, will solve this problem. But for many reasons, the SEAL teams do not complain about how the conditions are bad. Now we've been able to highlight this, and I think the time is now to address the problem, being how the problem is worse than it's ever been. I think we have 40 million gallons of waste being dumped into this Tijuana estuary here, and that's worse than it's ever been. So now is the time to solve the problem, and I believe our administration can do it. What I see here is a tremendous amount of green, nasty water being, you can smell it. This is disgusting. As it pours through, it doesn't clear up. There's no clarity to it. It just turns into a foam. And the foam sits on top of the water where it's murky, and it just continues to flow towards Imperial Beach and the ocean down here. It's absolutely disgusting. I can't comment strongly enough about how bad it is to be here. I'm here specifically because I want people to see just how bad it is. The moment that I leave here, I'm going to go take a shower.